so proud to welcome the one and only enter-trainer, motivational speaker, super dad, super husband, super son, super brother, and Superman, Mr. Hariharan Iyer. Give him a big round of applause and we welcome Hari.
Okay, good morning. So there is a bit of a, I did not realize that if I have to do a doctor's session, I need to be a patient. So I'm just going a little treatment for my ears, so please bear with me. In case I don't hear you, if you say something, you'll have to repeat it for me. So that's the only request. Otherwise, I'm fine. And just that going through a little process. Okay, so first of all, yeah, it's getting better now. I think the moment I'm on stage, everything becomes better. Okay, you see, we are narcissistic people, and motivational speakers are like that. So, okay, so first of all, I think it's a great honor, and it's an absolute privilege to get this opportunity to come and stand in front of such an audience and address. I think I got to know about this session about 3 weeks ago, and for the amount of money Nikhil is paying me, it's very less because I had to prepare for 3 weeks for this session. Because I was wondering what to tell doctors. And for all you know, I'm just one of those guys who walks through your door every day, you know. And you never know, your next patient might be a motivational speaker. So, right? So I'm just a very normal guy who walks through the door of your clinic or your hospital at any given point of time. And to get such an opportunity for a common man like me to talk to all of you is an absolute honor. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And I've been very strictly warned on the timing part, so I'm going to kind of get this rolling now. So I've come up with a very audacious subject, which is what they don't teach you at medical school. Now, in case you already know about it and they taught you at medical school, I'm very sorry because I have no idea what happens inside a medicine school. Because I wanted to be a doctor myself, and just that people did not tell me that you have to pass your 12th standard minimum to become a doctor. So I didn't manage to do that, and so I had to go back to arts. You know, in our days, 1970s and 80s, when we were growing up, we were very clearly told, if you are a smart guy, you do science, and if you are not a smart guy, you do arts. You know, and if you're somewhere in between, you do commerce. I think now the trend has reversed. Smart guys are doing arts, and super smart guys are becoming doctors like you. Yeah? So, and the in-betweens continue to do commerce. So that's great. So that's something that is not changed. So we're going to look at something very interesting. Now, I've divided this little session into 3 parts. One is we're going to do a quick icebreaker, and we're going to have a little fun. Second is what I have learned from all of you, from your profession, is what we're going to talk about. And the last, of course, is some wisdom from management sages, as I call them. So does this look like an interesting plan for the moment? Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so are you ready to laugh a little bit at yourself? Okay, so I have already taken your yes. So, you see, doctors give a lot of complicated terminologies to lay people like us. And the only medical terminology a common man in India knows very well is lymphosarcoma of the intestine. Yeah? And we don't know anything more about medical terminology than lymphosarcoma of the intestine, thanks to Amitabh Bachchan, Rajesh Khanna, Rishikesh Mukherjee, and Ramesh Dev. You know, I think you're all part of that particular scene in that historic film Anand, which was released in 1971. Okay, so because you guys give us such amazing terminologies which we can't make any sense of, so I thought let me take a little revenge on all of you. And let's do a little terminology check here. Not medical terminology, something else. Okay? So let's blame it on Shashi Tharoor. Because he uses words which are more complicated than the medical language also. So let me test your vocabulary to begin with. Okay? So, what is the meaning of floxy-noxy-hilly-pillification? Any idea? What is the meaning of floxy? You see, I got the pronunciation right. I think so, I don't know. That just goes to show how many times I must have watched that video on YouTube. Yeah? Floxy-noxy-hilly-pillification. Sorry? Okay. Okay. So you want to know the meaning, exact meaning, and know how to apply it? Okay. It means the action or habit of estimating something as worthless. That's what floxy-noxy-hillification means. Sometimes when you're frustrated with your patients, you can just put this word on them. You can say that, why are you giving me a floxy-noxy-hillification moment? Okay, let's go to the next word now. What's the meaning of defenestrate? Any idea? So if you don't know, just say I don't know. I like your way, sir. You put your hands up. Shoot me.
I know.
You know defenestrate?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, paying a doctor's fees.
Paying. No, that might be floxy-noxy-hillification. You might find it worthless to pay so much from a patient's perspective. Okay, defenestrate essentially means to throw or push someone out of the window. So some patients behave really badly or they don't follow your advice. Tell them next time I'm going to defenestrate you. I'm going to throw you out of the clinic. Okay, ready for the next word? Yeah, this gets very interesting now. So what does agathocacological mean? Any idea? Agathocacological. It has no logic. It looks like it does not have logic, but it's a very powerful word. And agathocacological means someone is made up of both good as well as evil. So it's a combination of. So when you look at Romy, he is only good. There is no evil in him. So he does not qualify to be called as an agathocacological person. Okay, here's the last one. Blame it on Shashi Tharoor. What is the meaning of, I love this. Out of the four, I loved this one. What is the meaning of Panglossian? It almost sounds like a medical disease. What is the meaning of Panglossian?
The one who takes panga.
One who takes panga. Yeah, it's a very panga word for sure. Okay? So, a Panglossian is somebody who is excessively optimistic and very stupidly optimistic. So, for example, during the pandemic, we all learned that you should not be positive because then you will be termed as COVID positive. Yeah? So if you said I'm positive, then people run away from you. If you say you're negative, they love you now. That's the new positivity. So there were a lot of Panglossian elements in our country who thought COVID will happen to my neighbor, not to me. They were so optimistic, stupidly so. So that's what Panglossian means. So can we have a round of applause for Shashi Tharoor? Thank you. Okay. Now I'm going to really get serious now. And you can see how serious I am there. So, we had this little laugh right now. We had a little light session. I'm going to get very serious. Don't worry. Whenever I get serious, it only becomes more interesting and more fun. Okay. So, let's go to what I have learned from all of you, or what we lay people, common people, have learned from all of you. So, here are some management lessons from a doctor's profession. So, you might want to sell this idea to some of your patients or to your relatives, saying that, this is what I can teach you about management from my profession. I think the first lesson I learned from all of you was, and I keep learning all the time, and we have a very famous cardiologist in our family, Dr. Ashok Punjabi. And so when people ask us, who is your family doctor? I say, we have a doctor in the family. So I don't really have to look for a family doctor. We have a doctor in the family. And we are like, anything happens, call Ashok. Go to Ashok. Meet Ashok. Just trouble him. Poor guy. And all we relatives pile on in him. Now, what I observed in the way he works, and also the way all of you work, is you are able to embrace complexity. A disease is a complexity for any normal person, for anybody, and you have the idea and the knowledge as to how to handle that complexity. The complexity for you when handling patients is not just about the physical illness, it's also about their mental state. It's how you handle them, how do you motivate them, how do you give them some inputs, and how do you assure them that it's going to be fine. Yeah, like I went to the doctor yesterday, he said you will be fine. So that one sentence, it makes a big difference to people like us. And to all of you, of course. So this is the first thing I learned from your profession. Embrace complexity. The second thing I learned from your profession is research orientation. If you look at the statistics in India, it's quite shocking. In America, they spend $607.5 billion in R&D activity, which is 17% of their annual research and development spend. No wonder that they are so way ahead in terms of medical science, in terms of other sciences, and in terms of rational sciences. And look at India. Only 0.7% of the GDP was spent every year on research and development, on an average. This is all we spend on R&D in our country. And no wonder that there are so many superstitions around the kind of life we lead, because we are not so rational. You need a combination of rational and non-rational processes. So this is the second thing we can learn from your profession, which is research orientation. Third is, excellence comes from loving the boring job. That's what I learned from your profession every day. You have a set process. So somebody comes up with a certain illness, you know what are the basic things to ask, and what are the basic tests to be done, what is the basic prescription to be given, and it does not change. It does not happen as per your fancy. It's a routine, so-called boring job. And what I find is that successful people are those who can do the same boring job with great passion for all their life. Like our homemakers, I have great respect for them because they can do the same boring job all their life with very, very little expectation. They don't get paid, they don't get any recognition, and you have this great ability to do the same thing every day of your life without getting bored with what you are doing. And I think that's a great lesson in management. You look at Amitabh Bachchan, he's been around for more than 50 years as an actor. Asha Bhosle has been around as a singer for more than 75 years. Devanand, he died at the age of 88 and he was writing his last film script. S.P. Balasubramanian, and we can learn so much from films actually. He sang more than 40,000 songs in his career. It's fantastic for a gentleman who spent his career for over 40 years singing. And I'm sure all of you have so much experience. And I have seen doctors in my family or otherwise who have been doctors for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and they are able to do the so-called same boring job with the same passion. And that's what Bruce Lee said. I fear not the man who practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. That's why this is a specialized conference. It's not that any doctor can simply walk in and be a part of this conference. A very specialized conference because it's meant for a particular stream. So that's what I learned from your profession, that excellence is about loving the boring job and doing it every day. Excellence is about composed passion. You see, we are motivational speakers. We are known by how animated we are on stage. We are known by the energy we bring to the table. But can you go and do a test passionately on somebody? Today I'm in a great mood. I just came out of Hariharan's session and I'm highly motivated. So I'm going to do a passionate blood test. It doesn't work like that. But you have passion. It does not mean that passion does not mean just outward expression of animation or energy or animatedness or energy. Passion is about your commitment, your integrity. It's about your love for what you're doing. So you are able to display what I call as composed passion. And that's what we require in life. You need to be passionate, but you also need to be composed. And I find this fascinating when I meet a lot of doctors, and I find patients are so animated, but doctors are so composed. And they're not getting carried away. I'm sure you're trained for that, but it also calls for a lot of, a self-management. It's a way you manage yourself. And I'm sure you're under a lot of pressure yourself. You never know when you might get an emergency call. Your family is on its toes all the time. You have taken an oath. So it's not easy. It's not easy, but we learn how to have composed passion from your profession. Process plus wisdom. You're all process oriented. You have to follow a process. But there is also something that comes with experience, which is your intuition maybe, or which is your acquired wisdom over a period of time, or which is a natural wisdom. I'll give you an example here. There is a gentleman called Dr. Mukhi in Mulund. He is an orthopedic surgeon. He is a specialist in orthopedics. And many, many years ago, when I was growing up, and I was in my teens, I had severe back pain. And I went to this doctor. My mother came along with me and we went to the doctor and we said, maybe we should do an X-ray or something. Generally, what do common people fear? That I have to undergo some X-ray, I have to do so many tests, I don't know what it will cost, so on and so forth. Dr. Mukhi told me, don't worry, this is growth pain. You are growing up and your bones are adjusting themselves. Just do not worry, you will be fine in a few weeks. So you don't have to undergo any great tests. And as it turned out, it happened to be growth pain. And when I shared this with one of the other doctors, who has an understanding of allopathy but also does homeopathy, more of a homeopathy doctor of course, and he said, that's what a champion doctor is all about. That's the genius of Dr. Mukhi, that he clearly told you that this is the wisdom I want to pass on to you. It is growth pain. So don't worry about it. So the fantastic thing that we learn from people like you is how to apply the process, but also how to apply some common sense. And while you are applying your common sense and your wisdom, you are also following a process. Right? So that's the next management lesson that I learned from all of you. I love this. This is what you do every day. You diagnose the problem. You try to get to the root problem. you try to get to the root cause. And I picked up this fantastic lesson from this film, Jayesh Bhai Jordar. I don't know whether you watched it. I don't know whether I should recommend to you to sit through 3 hours of this film, but I definitely wanted to watch this particular scene where it teaches people like us how a problem is wrongly diagnosed and what disaster it can cause. So there is this village, and there is Baman Irani, who is the village head, and his son Ranveer Singh, and they are having a village meeting. And while the meeting is going on, there is one girl who stands up, and he tells the village head that, "Sir, the problem is these boys in the village are troubling us a lot. So can you please help us in a way? Because they tease us, they do eve teasing, they are not decent, they trouble us, we can't move around freely." So Boman Irani thinks for a while, he's a village head, and he diagnoses the problem as the soap. He says, "Ban the soap that you use. From today, all women in this village cannot use soap, because when you apply that soap, it sends out a very attractive smell, and that smell is attracting the boys. So the problem is you and not the boys." You see how problems get diagnosed in the corporate world? This is how problems get diagnosed in the corporate world. Ban the soap. You're not supposed to ban the soap. You're supposed to ban that bad behavior. But that's not what we do in life. Very often, we get the diagnosis wrong. And that's what we learn from a doctor's profession, that you have to get the diagnosis correct. And when you talk about root cause analysis, nobody knows it better than you. Fantastic. So, we spoke about some interesting words which were given by Shashi Tharoor. Then we looked at some very beautiful lessons that we learn from all of you on a daily basis. We looked at how you help us diagnose problems. We looked at how you help us with the process, also with the wisdom, so on and so forth. Now, here are some ideas from our management gurus. And I'd like to conclude with some of these points from the management gurus. Marshall Goldsmith, who wrote this absolutely amazing book, "What Got You Here Won't Get You There." I think it applies to your profession, it applies to my profession, it applies to everybody in this world. What made you somebody good at a level is not the same quality that will make you go to the next level. What makes you an MBBS cannot make you an MD, right? And if you want to go beyond, what made you an MD cannot make you something beyond that. So you have to keep growing ahead. You have to embrace new contexts in life. And new skill sets. That's what got you here won't get you there, says by Marshall Goldsmith. Also, I'm sharing this with you because not necessarily you need to know all this or you need to apply for yourself. But these are all great lessons to share with friends or as parents. There is a great opportunity that you can go back home and have a dinner table discussion with your spouse and your children. Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is an amazing book by James Clear. And James Clear says, too often we convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action. So I want to lose 10 kg weight in the next 2 months, 3 months. So one best way to do is to fast for 20 days. You will lose 20 kg weight, not 10 kg weight. And that will get into some other kind of trouble. So he says it's not about taking massive action. It's about improving 1%, which is not noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. and the difference that a tiny improvement can make in your life is absolutely amazing. Now, I'll give my example. I have written 8 books so far. I'm a published author of 8 books, 9th on the way. I have written more than 160 blogs on LinkedIn and on my blog site. I have 250 YouTube videos. So I would love you if you can go to Hariharan Iyer on YouTube, the Entertainer, and subscribe. I'm not saying this to boast. All I'm saying is, when I share these numbers today, they look amazing. They are astounding. But they have come in the last 10 years, 10 to 11 years. From the time I started shooting the videos, from the time I started writing my blogs, from the time I wrote my first book and got it published in 2011. So when you do it bit by bit, it suddenly all adds up so beautifully, and suddenly you have an amazing amount of work. You can remember the first patient you dealt with in your profession, and today you must have handled thousands of patients. So the 100 patients did not come on day one. But today there could be at least 25, 30 patients waiting for you every day. It happens over a period of time. That's the beauty of developing the right habits bit by bit, is what James Clear, one of the finest management books that I have read. The Goldilocks rule. This is a very interesting rule by Goldilocks. And again, there's a great parenting lesson also here. And also if you are mentoring new doctors. He says, humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities, not too hard, not too easy, just right. Now, for example, if you are an amateur tennis player, suppose you go to play tennis every day, yeah, and you love playing tennis, and you also have matches with your friends, but one day your club announces who can take on Ralph Nadal. How many of you will be ready for it? I mean, there is no scope. I mean, I cannot withstand one serve of Ralph Nadal. So there is no motivation to compete. But suppose Romy sir is also a tennis player, like me, an amateur guy. I am also a tennis player. And I feel, yeah, it's quite a challenge to beat him. But I feel motivated to compete with him because I know I have a chance to win. I may lose, but I still have a chance to win. So it's not easy to beat Romy sir, but it's also not that difficult. It's not impossible. But to beat Ralph Nadal is absolutely impossible. So sometimes what parents do to their children is they impose their dreams and their unfulfilled aspirations on their children, and it starts acting like a Goldilocks rule. Because the child says, you wanted to be a doctor, I want to be a choreographer. It's not possible for me to study for so long. Forget about it. You know, so you treat your patients, I'll make people dance to my tunes. It's more or less the same thing, isn't it? No, not really. I'm just joking. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, apply the Goldilocks rule in life and check out and who is good for what. That's why I have a problem with a lot of goal-setting exercises that happen in the corporate world. Because for most of them, it's like a Goldilocks rule, or at least for many of them. I could never relate with a goal-setting exercise. It was either too hard, and unfortunately, it was never easy. It was always very hard in the corporate world. Yeah? So that's what Goldilocks rule is all about. The next one is child is father of man. I'm sure you heard about this. And in many of the motivational sessions that I do, when I ask people, what is the meaning of child is father of man? They say, जब बच्चा बड़ा हो जाता है, वो बाप का बाप बन जाता है. I said, no, that's not what it means. I mean, the psychologist who invented this term, he will turn in his graveyard if we were to give these kind of explanations. Child is the father of man is a very powerful concept because it tells you your childhood behaviors or your experiences as a child have a major impact on your adult life. So many of the adult complexities, personality complexities, emotional complexities, psychological complexities, they come from your childhood. So it's all the more very painful to see if children do not get the right nutrition, they don't get the right education. There are many orphan children who do not have families, and there are within families, there are children who don't experience a great childhood. The fundamental job of a parent is not to provide money and all the comforts and send them to the best college in the United States of America. It is to fundamentally first make them feel happy in life and who they are. And I'm sure all of you will agree, if you are happy, you are a little stress-free, which essentially means you'll be physically fine. Right? I mean, it's absolute common sense. But that's what people miss out in life. So we have to ensure that when we are also dealing with adults, to understand their childhood background. It does play a role in what they go through in their adult life. It happens to all of us. And nobody can ever have a perfect childhood. That's fine. But at least 60-70% it should be great, so that I have good memories of my childhood. So that's what child is the father of man means. Cognitive dissonance. The only reason I'm using this term here is to impress you with my intellectual ability. There is no other reason. You see, we have so much complex when we deal with doctors. So I'm trying to impress you. Okay. So for many years, I did not get this term at all. I was not able to understand. But as I was researching for this session, I came across this theory of cognitive dissonance. And I found it very interesting. It simply means people experience discomfort when they hold conflicting beliefs or when their actions contradict their beliefs. So I'll take two examples here. I'm a secular guy. That's what I believe. But if my child were to marry outside the community or outside the religion, I will object. So my actions and my beliefs are at variance. So that is cognitive dissonance. The best thing about the Western world is how they can give a sophisticated terminology to something as simple as not allowing your child to marry outside the community. It happens every day in India. So we live with cognitive dissonance. I don't know for how many years we've been living like that. Second simpler, even simpler example is, I don't believe that smoking is good for health. Smoking is injurious to health, but I am a chain smoker. So my actions and my beliefs are at variance. So your patient, many of them must be having cognitive dissonance. They know that they have to follow you, but when they go home, they will do exactly what they want to do, against your advice. You would have said, don't eat this, don't do this, but they would exactly do that and come back and say, these medicines don't work. So it's actually not a problem with the medicine, it is a problem with their psychology, which is cognitive dissonance. Right? Now, I want you to guess which management guru would have come up with this theory called rice and water theory. Any guesses? Is it Marshall Goldsmith? Is it James Clear? Is it somebody else? Farmer. Okay. I'm so sorry, sir. Unfortunately, I'm not a farmer. So the management guru who has given this is Hariharan Iyer. You see, I'm trying to impress you guys with terminologies and theories. Okay, what do I mean by the rice and water theory is you can have, last 2 minutes, you can have any amount of rice items, idli, dosa, biryani, dal chawal, you can have khichdi, and you can make any kinds of preparations. I went to one of the hotels and they even had a rice starter. I was shocked. I did not know that rice can be a starter also. They put some, cream into it, some cheese, and they made a nice starter. What is the water? What are the variations of water? In water, you can have cold drinks, you can have other kinds of drinks, you can have juices. But at the end of the day, you get maximum satisfaction after having had a great meal in a hotel for 3 days. You have been here for 2-3 days now. When you go home, what you will settle for is a simple dal chawal. Am I right? And that will give you the maximum satisfaction in life. Despite having eaten the best buffet, breakfast, lunch and dinner in a 5-star hotel. And how much ever thirsty you might be, ultimately what will quench your thirst is that glass of water from your fridge or your aquaguard at home. Yes or no? So life is all about following the fundamentals. And that's something all of you do so very well. And the last thing is Ubuntu. It's a beautiful concept given by Desmond Tutu from South Africa, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, a legend in his life. And he said, I am because we are. So I cannot be an isolated person. I am because you are because I am also there. It's all about a team, and I think this particular conference is all about that. All you great experts coming together and sharing your knowledge, and it's a wonderful practice of the Ubuntu principle. So we need much more of Ubuntu in our world. So we covered Shashi Tharoor's 4 words. Yeah, floxy, noxy, hilly-pillification being one of them. And we also understood what are the management lessons from a doctor's life, and also wisdom from the management sages, Marshall Goldsmith, James Clear, few other people. I put in a little bit of my own theory. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Hariharan Iyer. Let me shake your hand and let me say thank you on behalf of everybody. Please come here. What a wonderful session. We wanted more of you. But as a token of everybody's appreciation, I will not give you something which can be measured in materials. I will give you a hug.
Thank you.